A lot of the things that you don't have to store physically anymore do still have to be stored, and you do want it for future use. And a way of not having so much paper clutter in your home is to put it in a digital format. Hey there and welcome, my name is Wendy. Today I'm doing a tutorial on electronic storage or digital storage, and this can be a bit of a learning curve, so I thought I would do a tutorial on how to do this and the different components of paper clutter that you might have in storage right now that you can transpose into a digital copy, and then you no longer have to filter it and file it and find homes for it within your home. So this is just a tutorial that I'm hoping will make things a little bit simplified as you go through your paper declutter process. Now, I've been doing this for a few years now. Since 2014, 2015, I got really invested in decluttering my home. I went paperless pretty much. This is the amount of paper that I keep on a day-to-day basis. I do have a legal file where I keep really important documents, and I'm going to talk you through those. And I do have recipe books, of course, but not many. And these are the strategies that I use to be able to keep the paper reduced, and so I don't have to deal with it all the time anymore in my home. It's not something that ever overwhelms me. I do understand that this isn't for everybody, but I'm pretty sure that if you are watching a digital decluttering tutorial, then you are pretty much comfortable with things being online, or you're interested in it and it doesn't daunt you. So I'm going to try and tackle the different components of the paper that you have, and hopefully I'll be able to help. So when you've got your pile of paper and you've sorted out what's rubbish, you're left with a whole bunch of things. It can be recipes, photos, newsletters, all the sorts of things that come into a home that are important. So what I want to do is show you what you can do with each of these instead of just stacking them up into a pile. It doesn't have to be that way, that it's sitting there all the time building and building and you're never quite sure how to tackle it and you kind of shy away from dealing with it. This is so that you don't have that at all forming within your home. So the first one I want to cover is kids' artwork. This can really tug on our heartstrings. It does for me. They are really special to us when our kids do art. But in the beginning, you really do have to start being a bit ruthless. Talk to your child, what ones are they particularly proud of? Maybe there's an art wall that you can have up, and then you can display the art that they love the most for that week, and then each week you can rotate it. But what do you do when it comes off the art wall? So let me show you. One of the things that you are going to need for this is a scanner. Either you are going to have a physical scanner in your home office, or you can use your phone. Either a specific app as a scanner, or you can use the scanner that's available in most phones. There will be one. I know that in the iPhone there is the Notes app, and that has a scanner option on it. So what you're going to do is take a scan of this picture. You're going to label it with the child's name and the year or the month that they did it. In doing so, you can always take a print copy of it. If they wanted it again, you can show them that you've kept it. You store it either in online storage, or you can store it in a photo album within whatever photo app you choose to keep your digital photos on, whether it's one for all of your children's art or just a particular child's art. Some of those pieces you really want to keep. Some of them you have a hard copy of and you really would love to be able to put it somewhere special, and may I suggest having a small portfolio. This is what was considered to be the way to do things when my kids went to kindy, and they are now teenagers, and it's been a really special resource that we've been able to keep. And what we did was keep their first art. So this is a picture of my son who's doing art, and this is his first artwork that he did on that day. And it just keeps a record of what they were doing, why they were doing it, what they were thinking. So that's something to consider when you're doing artwork, but it has to be for those special pieces of artwork that you know they've put a bit more effort into. Of course, their first artwork looks just like a scribble, but if they've come home with a story about it, then maybe you want to jot that down. Keep that stuff that's special to you and to them. It's always great keepsake for them in the future. But other than that, you don't have to keep every single piece of art. I take a scanned copy of it with my Scanner Pro app, and I file it under their name and when they created it. It's really, really simple, and it doesn't have to be hard. It's just what you're going to do from now on whenever that kid's artwork comes into the house. Technically, you're not throwing it away at all anymore. So this is a really good habit to get into for your kids' artwork. The next category that I want to talk about is your legal documents. These are things that have been sent to you. They look very official, and you're holding on to them, and you're not quite sure if you should throw them out. So these are the things that I would hold on to. For example, your will, marriage certificate, birth certificate, adoption papers, any kind of custody related papers. I would keep hold of passports, deeds to your home, company papers, trust documents, any kind of certificate that looks official. Even in this situation, I would still take a digital copy of these. I would make sure that I had them on file. If there was a flood or a fire, or we went traveling with them and lost them, maybe if you're moving house and they might get misplaced, fall off the back of a truck. If you've got a digital copy of it, they're much easier to be replaced. But these things you do have to pretty much always hold on to physically. So make sure you have a home for these things, that you can put them somewhere safe, that they're not being looked at all the time, that they're there for when you absolutely need them. But there are other things that look official, but they're not actually things you need to hold on to. Things that you do not have to hold on to would be your bank statements, mail that comes from the bank, superannuation, savings bank statements, things that you normally in the past would have to hold on to. All of these things that with a quick call or an email, you would be sent a copy very quickly, or at least have access to it if you needed it. Just because a document says private and confidential doesn't necessarily mean you have to hold on to it. It just means that it's private and confidential. Your superannuation, your savings accounts, your bank statements, insurance policies, you really don't need to hold on to these. These can just weigh you down. So when you're receiving bank statements, things from the insurance company, maybe an update on your policy, maybe it's something from the local council or a legal thing that's come in about elections, they're not things always that you have to hold on to. Take a read of it, action it if required, give them a call, but please don't be afraid just to bin it. It's not necessary for you to hold on to everything and just clutter up that paper file. Another small hack that I'd like to share to get rid of some of that paper that's cluttering up your space is receipts. We keep receipts in case we have to return things, and if you never have to return something, why do we hold on to it? So can I suggest that you scan a copy, file it in whichever online filing system you use, make a note of what it is, maybe it's an appliance or a tool, tag it with the things that matter to it, and forget about it. You can literally throw that piece of paper away. The scanner will take a copy of that receipt, barcode and all, it records all the information. It could easily be the actual receipt when you print it off. Sometimes you just need the number of the receipt. You go into the store, they have record of it, and they'll pull up the receipt themselves. So don't be afraid just to scan these and forget them. So now that we're a little way into it, you can see that there are a few things you do actually need if you're wanting to be digital and get everything online and not on your kitchen counter. The first one is a scanner. So maybe that's one that you have in your office. Maybe you use something from your device, whether it's an app or you can use the built-in app that's on your phone. It really does depend on what you prefer to scan with, but you will need some form of scanner. The next thing that you will absolutely need is online storage of some kind. You can use Google Drive. That's very accessible to most people, and it will easily sync with your device that you use. But if you don't use that, maybe you would prefer a physical hard drive. So that's something that you would purchase from a store. If you use online storage, it could be a flat rate for the year, or it could be a monthly amount that you pay. I know that Google Drive charges $2.99 for 100 gigabytes a month, and that is a lot of storage. Google Drive is what I use. I've got the 100 gigabytes a month option for $2.99, and I only half fill it. But there are also other types of online storage, whether you use Dropbox or OneDrive. I know that that's available for Android users or people that use Windows. And of course, for iPhone users, there's iCloud. So that's an option also. I'm not 100% sure of their storage fees. Like I said, I use Google Drive a lot for our documents around the home, but my favorite online storage is Evernote. And that's simply because it reads handwritten documents. So whatever I store in there, whether it's handwritten or typed, it will read it when I do a search. Also, the labeling mechanisms on it are great, and I've been able to store things in there for upwards of 5 years. It's an annual fee that I pay. I think it's $80 a year, and it just keeps everything very, very tidy for me. I find it a really good investment. I know that a hard drive I purchase for my computer is upwards of $70 or $80. So this for me is just one concise place, and I never have to replace those hard drive things. This is available to me online. It's not on my device, so I just tap into it in a website and everything's there and it belongs to me. Another hazard for your paper clutter might be recipes. Unless it's something that's been handed down to you by your mother and it's written in hand by your grandmother, they're not really something you always have to have on hand. This is my physical cookbook where I keep a few recipes. These are either ones that my kids will always use, and so they know the pages and they flick it open, or my husband has some baking ideas in here that he uses, but a lot of it they know off by heart now, so they don't even refer to this. So this is fast becoming obsolete. There are things that you might want to keep, but there might be some other ways of storing it that you haven't thought of. So what I also developed a habit of using was an online app. One of them is called Paperplate that I use. So we find little processes and ways of storing particular items that we want to use. But Paperplate has been a really good one because it has the method that you would like to use, the ingredients, the title, any kind of links to be able to remember where to go to find out more information. Another way of doing it, if someone sends you something or you see something online that you want, you can take a screenshot or a picture. And I have become quite accustomed to storing pictures of recipes, either instructions or images to remind me, in my Google Drive Photos app. And that's just an album I have that has recipes titled. I scroll through and I realize there is an oatmeal recipe I want to try, or this is a hamburger recipe I want to try. And it's just a really simple way of not having to jot everything down in the moment. You can just take a screenshot. Just finding another alternative to keeping that recipe on hand without having to take the piece of paper home. Another option for recipes, if you find one online that you really like, especially if it's one that you're searching on Google and you come up all the time needing to use this particular recipe. Whatever search engine you're using, whether it's Safari or Chrome or Firefox, just go into there, create a file and have it on your bookmarks file folder, and then from there you can have a drop-down menu of recipes. And that can just be links to websites of recipes that you are continuously using. It's just another way to have really quick access to the recipe when you need it. So scanning photos is something that you really should do all the time. Digital photos is just the way things are. I have actually spent a full summer with my evenings spent scanning old photos. It's the ones that my mother had on hand and my grandmother had, and we didn't have digital copies of it. And I really wanted digital copies. I wanted to be able to share them with everybody rather than just be sitting on the shelf in one photo album. So it does take time to set up if this is not what you've done in the past, but it really is a fun exercise, especially when photos matter a ton to people. I've been able to give a hard drive to each of my family members. They can scroll through them on their computer and look at whatever photos they like, and they're not just sitting in one spot collecting dust and being forgotten. They're secure from any kind of flood or fire damage, and they're also shared because photos were made to be looked at, and I love the idea that photos can be digitized and kept safe forever. So make sure a photo is on a flat surface, or if you're using your actual big scanner that's in your office, you won't even need to worry about this. It needs to be flat and it needs to be secure, and then all you do is put your device over the top, make sure it's level, make sure it's square, and it'll scan the copy for you. Sometimes it helps to be in daylight so it's not got a light bulb shining above it. From there, you save it to wherever you store regular photos. It becomes like a photo you actually took with your camera. So just file it, make sure it's got the correct date so that it's not filed under today's date instead of 3 years ago when it was taken. Getting your photos digitized also means that you can create beautiful photo books for your kids, and this is something that you can either have for your family or you can give them as gifts. There are all sorts of places online that you can do photo albums, and they are just super special and a really fun, crafty thing to do if you're needing something to do over the winter. And to create photo books, you need to have them digitized, and they do like them to be in a decent copy. They will say to you, this is not a quality copy. So I would suggest that you use a proper scanner, either a scanner app that you've purchased. I've got one that was $6.99 on my phone, Scanner Pro, or you can use your physical scanner, but make sure you've got a quality copy because they will come out a lot better in your photo book. Okay, so another one that causes a ton of clutter is brochures, pamphlets, and newsletters. Things that have come in that are kind of interesting, you want to hold on to them, but you're not quite sure what to do with them now because you don't really need it right now. So my first tip would be, can you get an email copy? Can you unsubscribe from this mail out? Now, this is quite essential. There are things that just come in the mail all the time. They keep coming in and we keep stacking them up. We never read them. If you think it's something that you might look at from time to time, get on the email list. They'll send it to you. I'm sure they would much rather send you an email than waste the time and money of sending a brochure to you that you're just going to bin. Plus, you'll save a ton of forests just by going email. The next question to ask is it relevant to you right now or very soon? Is it something that's coming up next term or next semester for your kids and you need to get them enrolled? Maybe it's something that's coming up for the local club or the local church and you want to get involved and you just need the information for a little bit longer. This is exactly what goes in this file. This is where you're going to refer to things all the time. If you need it, you just go there and you find it. This is exactly where you need to put things. If your children need something, this is where you send them because this is where you put it and this is what they need to take. So make sure you're utilizing this. There are things that you shouldn't be afraid to keep. Sometimes brochures can be very interesting, but you don't necessarily need it right away, and you're not sure if you will ever need it, but you want to keep it. So this is a vitamin supplement that I got a pamphlet about, and I really wanted to keep it. It's got a ton of information in there. So all I'm going to do is scan this. It's got 4 pages. So I'm going to scan this. I'm going to put it under the vitamin name, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and I'm going to file that. And I don't have to keep hold of this brochure. You can do that with almost anything. Recently, I did a first aid booklet. I did a first aid course. I really wanted to keep the information. I had a ton of handwritten notes on there. So I just took a scanned copy of the pages I wanted to keep and I filed it under first aid and I put it in my Evernote. And the last and final tip for brochures or pamphlets, things that are interesting to you, if it's got a website, you can go to that website and save that website link and put it under interesting articles for future reference. There was one recently I looked up about solar panels. There might be something about an appliance you're interested in. You don't have to keep the hard copy brochure. It'll just float around and annoy you forever. Just find the link online, make a note of it, make a bookmark, stick it in a file, and you'll be able to reference it anytime. It's so much easier. Business cards is another one. You get these little teeny pieces of paper with someone's name and their phone number or contact details. Use your phone contacts list. Make sure you've written in there electrician or plumber. Make sure you know exactly who it is, so next time you're looking, you just punch in electrician and that number will come up. You don't have to hold on to the business card. You can scan it and file it if you wanted to, but really it just goes in your contacts list. The last thing about current events and things that are really happening right now, school trips, class events, church functions, make sure you've calendared it. Have a shared calendar somewhere, whether it's physical copy or an online copy, and make sure that the family knows what's happening. These are things that need to be, yes, keep a hard copy of it, but make sure you've got the stuff recorded in digital, so if you do lose that piece of paper or if you're not at home to view it, you've got it on hand with you. So I just want to leave you with my 2 last top tips, and one of them is unsubscribe. Unsubscribe is your friend. I love being able to unsubscribe from things. Go into your bank and tell them you don't want them to send you bank statements anymore. If you need your bank statement, you will find it online. Go to your insurance policy, ask them, please stop sending me mail outs. Do this all over the show and you will find the clutter that comes into your home vastly reduces. Another one that has proved incredibly helpful to me over the years is no circulars on your letterbox. Can be incredibly helpful for all those pamphlet drops that people do, that you just kind of pull them out of your letterbox, someone drags them into the house, you come home and there's a pile there. You might use them for fire starters, you might browse through them if you're bored, but generally that just goes out the door again in the bin. So just have an unsubscribe, say no pamphlets please, no mail outs, no circulars. You can handwrite it possibly on your letterbox if you wanted to, if you were really stuck, but there are some really cute little stickers you can put on there saying no junk mail. So I would assume that you're not going to implement all of that at once. Maybe you are already going digital, and so this has just been a really good encouragement for you, things that might work. But if you haven't, just take it slow. Choose the things that you've got the most of and start working on that. Your photos might be a project for the next holidays. Maybe just for now, you're going to get some of those receipts scanned in. You're going to learn how to use your scanner. You're going to sort out an online system for storage. Just make sure you're doing it in small bite-sized pieces, and I promise you the processes that you'll develop will become automatic. For now, it's just getting them started. So remember to take a look at the other videos I've done about paper clutter and the different categories that you put things into and trying to sort out your rubbish first. This has been an add-on that I've found I had to do because it was just too much information to include in the other videos. So if I can encourage you at all, if you've got any questions, if I've missed any information that you think I need to cover, please let me know in the comments. But until next time, bye for now.